One of the things that I think I asked you when you spoke a couple of months ago was this thing that marketing is under fire for, which is short-termism, short-term work that isn't really effective. How are we doing this year on the effectiveness scale in comparison to, say, last year or the year before that?
100 million views. You can buy those. So that's what's happening in the judging room. You can buy those. No one is believing that stuff. You may have got 100 million views, but it is also true that you could have bought those.
How relevant will marketing be in future without AI?
AI is never going to do that. AI is never going to find that connection with that connection and go bam. And that's what I was saying in my speech. There's an alchemy of what happens in Effie's cases.
On The Lead Creative, we often ask what makes marketing truly effective, not just provocative, but commercially and culturally meaningful. In this series, we speak to Effie Awards South Africa jurors, marketers, and agency leads to explore what drives real impact. The Effies celebrate ideas that grow brands, shift perception, and build relevance. We unpack what makes winning work, how top brands think about effectiveness, and the role of brave, bold ideas in marketing today. Because the Effies, in our view, aren't just about what you made or created, but what it truly achieved. Share your thoughts on some of the most impactful marketing work you've seen recently. And please share this conversation and subscribe to The Lead Creative. We're now joined by the MD of Ed Therapy and the Executive Director of the ACA and the country lead for Effies South Africa to close us off in this series of conversations. Gillian, thanks so much. I mean, I know it's been a marathon for you getting to this point, and congratulations.
Thank you.
You did another really successful one. We've been talking to some of the jurors, including the co-chair and everybody else, and I think the sentiment is that it's a really rigorous process judging the Effies. How was it this year in comparison to all the other years?
It was tough. We had a lot of entries, and honestly, every single entry has something about it that is worthy. So I think the conversion rate from the number of entries to the number of awards was 20%.
Right.
And honestly, there were bronzes that could have been golds. There were finalists that didn't make anything that easily could have. So the conversations were tough. And I think the toughness comes because you've got marketer, agency, strategist, for example, creative, tech, research, everybody in a room, and everyone's looking at the case from a different angle. And they are not looking to find fault. No, I don't think that's what's happening, but they are looking to interrogate the case. So the judging was tough. It was tough. I think the awards that came out were fair and good and well deserved.
When we spoke a few months ago, we were talking through the lens of, I suppose, the Effies from the year before. And I think last year there wasn't a Grand Effie.
Yeah, there was. There was there? Pineapple.
Okay, last year Pineapple was. In fact, Pineapple won this year again.
Pineapple won a gold this year, yeah.
So how are you seeing the work kind of differ? Because one of the things that I think I asked you when you spoke a couple of months ago was this thing that marketing is under fire for, which is short-termism, short-term work that isn't really effective. How are we doing this year on the effectiveness scale in comparison to, say, last year or the year before that?
I think what's interesting is this year, 2 of the awards were sustained success. So it was building results over a period of time. So it was over a period of 3 years. So the Carling campaign was actually over 8 years.
Sure.
And then the Halo campaign was over 3 years. So I think we are starting to see, 2 things. One, I think we're starting to see an understanding that things take time. But the other thing we're starting to see is a little bit of a skepticism around vanity metrics. So 100 million views. You can buy those.
Yeah.
So that's what's happening in the judging room.
Yes.
You can buy those. No one is believing that stuff. You may have got 100 million views, but it is also true that you could have bought those.
Yeah.
So there's just, that has less currency. What has currency is, what was the depth of the challenge? How did you reframe that? How did you bring it to life? And then what were your results? And the results have to be proper results.
Yeah.
So I think that's been a growing change, and I think that's what's happening in the judging rooms. People are looking at that.
So what's interesting about that is that one of the conversations that I had with one of the heads of agencies, Pepe Moret, the co-founder of Joe Public. And I think one of the things that he mentioned was the fact that agencies are doing far too much, churning out far too much work.
I agree.
And I think one of the things that you are saying now, which I suppose gives me a lot of optimism, is the idea that you were looking at campaigns over 3 years, over 8 years, that brands are really building brand and are really committed to building brand. And I think that is one of the things that, I suppose, alongside this criticism about short-term work, there's also that happening on the other side. What's your view on whether brands are doing more of that, or whether they should be doing more of that?
I've been saying it for years. We do too much, and in fact, there's just been a report now with Les Bennett and the people at IPA have just said we're doing too much and getting too little.
Yes.
So we're spreading budgets, we're spreading workloads, and we're filling channels with stuff that doesn't actually make a difference. What's going to happen is that AI is going to take over a lot of that stuff. AI is going to be filling the channels that the bots then read, and it's just a nonsense. So people are saying, like, we've got to be real here.
Yeah.
And I actually think that in time, and hopefully, honestly, soon, we need to cut all of that nonsense out. We need to focus on doing less, better, more concentrated, and more actual real-world impact.
Yeah. Are brands amenable to that, though?
Absolutely.
Are brands seemingly amenable?
Absolutely. I think they're coming under pressure for, I think that they've been measured on those sort of metrics in the past. But right now, this still the biggest challenge is moving from the short term.
Yeah.
That's still the biggest challenge. You run a campaign now, how many leads did I get? How many conversions did I get in this quarter? And that needs to change,
Gillian, we usually have a question that we ask our guests to leave for our next guest.
Okay.
And our previous guest was one of the jurors at this year's Effies, Tami Majola, the executive head of brand and communication at Vodacom.
Yeah.
And the question he left is along the lines of what you said. It is, how relevant will marketing be in future without AI? Because there seems to be this leaning over reliance right now on AI, that marketing is really becoming entwined with AI as we come to know it. So how relevant will marketing be without AI, or without the over reliance on AI?
So I read a very interesting article this week, and it was kind of that AI learns from consuming what is. And ultimately, AI is going to just consume its own stuff. And there's a term for it, AI slop. So at some point, AI is going to start regurgitating its own stuff and not have anything new. And I'll give you an example. Mike Sharman from Retroviral posted a thing on Facebook or something, Twitter, whatever these things are, whatever, this week. And he he was in Paris with his family. He had a castle brief in the back of his head, and he wandered into an old camera shop. And he found a camera that was the same age as Castle was. It was from the 1800s.
Yes.
And he bought that camera and he made it into a campaign where he took that camera to Springbok games and he shot Springboks with that camera from the 1800s. AI is never going to do that.
Yeah.
AI is never going to find that connection with that connection and go bam. And that's what I was saying in my speech. There's an alchemy of what happens in Effie's cases where there's a thing and there's a spark and something happens and then it's there. I think AI is amazing for many, many things. But if we rely on it completely, we will land up in mediocrity.
This is true. Gillian, now it's your turn to pass the mic to our next guest by leaving a question about their creative process, creativity, marketing, or maybe even life.
So I think my question would just be the same question I keep asking, which is, we all know that creativity is the second biggest lever for growth after brand size. Why are we not doing more of it? Refilwe said in her speech today that not doing bold, strategic and creative work is reckless.
Yeah.
When are we going to acknowledge that? And how are we going to change that?
Very compelling question. Thank you so much for that, and thanks so much for making time on a very busy evening. That brings us to the wrap of the Effies 2025. Thanks so much for watching.